Hello, everybody. Scott Cart here, and welcome back to my lab. Today, I was planning on giving you a lab tour, but instead I've decided to go over what I consider are the top 5 things every electronics engineering and electronics technician and electromechanical student who's taking electronics courses needs to purchase or arrange for the upcoming semester. Make sure that you stay tuned right to the end, and I'll give you a list of possible things that you may also want to purchase over time to build up a lab at home. All right. Okay. So the first thing that's really important that every student buy is their kit. Okay. There's going to be tool kits. There's going to be lab kits. There's going to be materials that are necessary for the lectures. Now, in the past, students have shared these kits, and that doesn't usually work out very well. But given the current climate with COVID, it's really, really not a good idea. Now, I know that a lot of people are really hopeful that we're going to be face-to-face this semester, but with the current case load here in Ontario, I'm skeptical that we're going to make it through the whole semester being completely face-to-face. And as you know, a lot of the courses are either hybrid or online. So that makes having these materials essential. Without them, you're going to really struggle to complete the courses. Now, the materials that are in these are not always the best quality, but they do ensure that every student has the same starting point, meaning if there are components and tools in there that they meet the minimum criteria and everybody has them. As you may or may not be aware, there is a global chip shortage right now, and a lot of people can't get components, period. So this is a nice way to ensure that everybody has all of the ICs, all of the resistors, all of the capacitors that are necessary to complete the lab, as well as a rudimentary set of tools. Okay? So, easy enough. Please purchase the kits that have been allotted to you. Okay? Okay? Now, the second thing is it's probably going to be one of the more expensive items that I'm suggesting that students buy, and that's an oscilloscope. Okay, so what do we need for an oscilloscope? Well, to be honest with you, being a student, you don't need a lot. And you don't need to be proud. Buying a used oscilloscope is absolutely something that you should think about. Okay? You can look on eBay, Kijiji, any secondhand store. You can find these popping up all over the place. Only thing you need to make sure is that it is functional. You don't want to buy something and have to troubleshoot it, especially in first year, because you don't have the troubleshooting techniques to go in and fix that yet. But it could be a USB scope. It could be an analog with a CRT tube on it. It could be a low-end digital scope. It could be pretty much anything. The only exception to that is I highly recommend you avoid the little $20 or $30 PCB guy with the little 2 or 3 inch monitor on it. They are completely useless. All right. One thing to remember when you're purchasing equipment is that you can always upgrade later. So if you buy something today, know that you can buy something as it comes available later and sell what you have or trade it off. Okay, so don't be afraid of that. The other thing is that this is hopefully your chosen career, and so this is something that you can use throughout your career, even if it is just at home. I mean, it's worked out very well for me that I've had a lab here at home when COVID hit, because I was able to just switch to working from home, and an oscilloscope definitely helped that. And since since I've been at home, I've actually had two major scope upgrades. So that's fantastic. Okay. Next thing that I recommend everybody get is a power supply. Now, in your kit, there will be a 3.3 or 5 volt power supply, and that'll do you fine for getting started with things like digital fundamentals. But as we move on to more complicated electronics, things like amplifiers, it's necessary to have an adjustable power supply. Having a dual power supply is even better. What a dual power supply will allow you to do is to have one voltage and be able to adjust another, or have a positive and a negative power rail for things like op amps if they are isolated. Okay, so one thing to be really aware of is you are looking for isolation. A USB based power supply may not be truly isolated. Okay, so you'll need to be careful with that because the grounds may be connected. But if you buy something that is obviously isolated, it has a transformer in it, then you're going to be okay. You don't need a lot of current for this power supply. Behind me is a old Hewlett Packard. It was actually donated to me, and it's a staple on my bench because it is isolated and it's very well suited for low noise application. It only produces 300 milliamps per channel, so not a great deal of power, but it does allow me in a nice form factor to hook up a circuit. Okay. There are other ones out there. I've created my own. It's about the same power and a much smaller footprint, and it sits on my desk. Why do I have one on my desk and actually several on my bench? They have different purposes. One, basically the setup on my desk is simply for doing quick captures on video, whereas the one over on my lab is for doing real testing. Okay, so don't be afraid to buy something that seems a little bit lower end, because again, you're not going to need several amps for anything in these classes. The next thing is a function generator. As your electronic circuits become more and more complicated, it becomes necessary to synthesize signals. And so we want to be able to input an AC signal or a pulsed signal or even a triangular wave or sawtooth. And the best way to do that is with a function generator. Now, function generators come in a wide range of quality and features. Be mindful of what's there and what's available, and pick something that's going to be suitable for your needs. Now, something that runs up to a megahertz is nice, but it's you don't need to go much beyond that, okay? Remember that whatever you buy for an oscilloscope, it's probably going to be in the 30 or 50 megahertz. And so going much beyond a megahertz isn't really something that you're going to want to do with a function generator. And later, as you learn how these tools work, you'll realize why you need that 30 or 50 times more to read the signal than to actually produce it. Okay. One thing to make sure is that your device that you're buying is actually isolated and that you're able to use a common ground reference. One thing that you don't want is something with a cheap power supply in it that's going to cause a ground loop or a short circuit to your oscilloscope, especially if you're using a USB oscilloscope, because in this case, you wouldn't necessarily only blow up a $200 or $300 oscilloscope. You could blow up a $1,000 computer. Okay, so be mindful of what you're getting and be aware of how to use it properly. Okay. The last thing that I want to suggest to you actually doesn't cost you any money directly, and that's to create yourself a budget. And that budget is for tools. Electronics is a trade like any other, and you are expected to have certain tools that are available to you. This becomes even more apparent when you start to create your own workbench at home. Okay. Or if you're going to become a field technician, again, having your own personalized tools is very important. You can imagine that a mechanic is expected to have their own wrenches and their own screwdrivers, and it's kind of the same for electronics. If you're working in a lab, that may be something that's provided to you, and they are work items. But if there's something that you like yourself, you may want to actually have it purchased. So things like Echo or Weller soldering iron may be something that you find helps your productivity, or is something that you just like to use. And so absolutely feel free to purchase tools that you like. Okay, they don't necessarily need to be the most expensive things, but a good set of screwdrivers, a good set of tweezers, a good set of needle nose pliers, side cutters, these are all things that you can purchase, and they help you set up your own workbench. So when the current climate came around, and we shifted from working in the lab to working at home, it was very easy for me because I had a lot of equipment already set up, and so I was able to make the transition quite smoothly. It's also allowed me an excuse to upgrade several pieces of equipment over time, and the way to do that is to actually create a budget. And this budget is kind of a wish list. Okay, so there's two aspects to it. You've got a list of items that you want, and you can prioritize them. Number one thing, I really, really want a new set of screwdrivers from Weehaw. Great. Put that on your list and associate a price with it. And then the second half is, I have $25 a week left over. I'm going to take that money and I'm going to put it away. And once I have $100, I'll place an order with DigiKey, and I will get my tweezers, my screwdrivers, and my needle nose pliers. Whatever you decide you want. Okay, and some items are going to be, quite pricey. I really want a spectrum analyzer from Keysight, and it's going to cost me $130,000. Great. That's kind of a long-term budget plan. What are you going to do to accomplish it? $25 a week. Great. It's going to take you years. Good luck with that, right? But set some realistic goals, and I've asked for things for Christmas and birthdays when I was younger. What do you want? What do you want for your birthday? I'd really like a new set of Exolite screwdrivers. Oh, where do we get those? How about you give me the cash and I'll go buy them? One thing to remember when you're setting up an electronics bench is that nobody expects you to go out and purchase everything today and be up and running. Do understand that there are different levels, and there's entry level, there's sort of work grade level, and then there's lab level, and you're going to want to start out with a lot of entry level stuff because you're going to break it. Okay. Things that you can spend money and get good quality on are hand tools. Okay. You're not going to break them. DMM, if you're going to buy a new DMM, I don't recommend that you buy the cheapest thing you can. Buy something that is going to last and be accurate. Okay. I'm a bit of a fluke guy myself, but Keysight also makes a great DMM. something like that is an investment and going to last you for years and years if you take care of it. And pride of ownership is absolutely something that all of you would benefit from learning. Okay. So we've talked about power supplies, we've talked about oscilloscopes, we've talked about function generators. And one thing that I highly recommend, if you can afford it or if you can find one at a reduced cost in the used market, is the Analog Discovery or Analog Discovery 2. I have one here on my bench. The Analog Discovery is a great piece of equipment. The Analog Discovery 2, even more so. So what it is basically it's a 2-channel oscilloscope that's USB. It's okay. It's not the end all and be all, but it has a lot of functionality built into it. It has a function generator, which again isn't the end all and be all of function generators, but it does the trick. And it allows you to have 2 power supplies available to you on the device. So with the Analog Discovery 2 or Analog Discovery plus a breakout board, you can actually do quite a bit. They all also have a digital input, so you can decode things later when you get into more complicated serial communications. And I believe it has a 16-channel digital input as well. So in things like digital fundamentals too, you'd be able to monitor everything that is happening with your digital circuit. All right. Hopefully this video is being helpful to you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. Likes are definitely appreciated. Do subscribe and hit the notify bell if you'd like to be made aware when I do make new videos like this. If there's something you didn't like, thumbs down's okay too, but either way, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching and have yourself a fantastic and safe day. Okay? Bye now.